Good morning, Year 7. I hope you're well and having a lovely day. Please could you write the date and the title? The title is Creative Writing Inspired by the Riverbank. For your do now, I would like you to choose one of the animals below to describe. Think carefully about using good vocabulary and literary techniques. What are the features and characteristics of your animal? Where do they live? Bring your animal to life. What would their personality be like? You need to be able to explain your choices. So pause your video and do this now, please, for 5 minutes. Okay, so creative writing inspired by the riverbank. I'd like you to look back at the way the riverbank was described in chapter 1. Never in his life has he seen a river before, the sleek, sinuous, full-bodied animal, chasing and chuckling, gripping things with a gurgle and leaving them with a laugh, to fling itself on fresh playmates that shook themselves free and were caught and held again. All was a shake and a shiver, glints and gleams and sparkles, rustles and swell, chatter and bubble. Think about all the techniques we spotted that Graham had used to present the river. He helped us, as the reader, to be able to imagine what it was like, and how the mole felt seeing the river too. Remember that this was the first time the mole had seen the riverbank, and that's one of the reasons it made such a great impression on him. Okay, so here's another example of a character experiencing a new place for the first time. In this case, he is a 3-year-old boy in a field where the grass is taller than him. So let's read through it, and I want you to think about what kind of techniques are being used and how they're effective in making the reader feel the emotions of the character. I was set down from my carrier's cart at the age of 3, and there, with a sense of bewilderment and terror, my life in the village began. The June grass amongst which I stood was taller than I was, and I wept. I had never been so close to grass before. It towered above me and all around me, each blade tattooed with tiger skins of sunlight. It was knife-edged, dark, and a wicked green, thick as a forest, and alive with grasshoppers that chirped and chattered and leapt through the air like monkeys. I was lost and didn't know where to move. A tropic heat oozed up from the ground, rank with sharp odours of roots and nettles. Snow clouds of elder blossom banked in the sky, showering upon me the fumes and flakes of their sweet and giddy suffocation. High overhead ran frenzied larks, screaming as though the sky were tearing apart. For the first time in my life, I was out of sight of humans. For the first time in my life, I was alone in a world whose behaviour I could neither predict nor fathom. A world of birds that squealed, of plants that stank, of insects that sprang about without warning. I was lost, and I did not expect to be found again. I put back my head and howled, and the sun hit me smartly on the face, like a bully. So pause the video and have a think about what techniques were used and how they were effective. You don't need to write anything down. Okay, so your task today is a creative writing task inspired by the riverbank. Your task is to describe a setting in detail, but imagine it's the first time you've ever been to this place. Use description to show how it made you feel. For example, you could describe the sea or the beach the first time you went there. You could describe the grass in a meadow, your home when you first moved there, or London on your first visit. Though I know a lot of you, like myself, are not a fan of London. So it may not be London, it may be somewhere else that you really enjoyed going. Refer back to Graham's description of the river to help you. Try using some of the techniques he's used. So I've given you a checklist: metaphor, personification, simile, pathetic fallacy, sibilant, so alliteration with S, good quality verbs, adverbs and adjectives, listing, repetition, variety of sentence lengths, paragraphs and contrast. So most of those you're already familiar with. I think sibilance is the only one some of you may not know. Everything else should be very familiar. Remember, listing is multiple ideas in a list which supports the point being made. You could also include an animal experience in your setting if you wanted. Please could you spend at least 15 minutes planning your piece and 20 minutes writing it. After that, please submit your work to class charts. So pause the video please to do that now. Okay, that's the end of today's lesson. I hope you found it interesting and enjoyable, and I look forward to reading what you come up with. I'm sure it'll be really good. So thank you, have a lovely rest of your day, and speak to you next time.